Welcome everyone to Nextjs series tutorial. This is the last part in this series. In this part we're gonna make some final adjustments and deploy our application to the hosting, which is called Vercel. If you don't have a code for the previous part, please find the link in the description of the video. So let's start with fixing a small mistake I made in the previous video. Let's go to the component repo list item.js. And here in the paragraph of description, change class name here to the description. So let's continue with adding some icons. Let's add a package which is called React Icons. Yarn add React Icons. While it's installing, I will show you this font awesome, which is a very popular set of icons. Before it was possible to get them actually without creating an account. Now I couldn't find this opportunity to not create an account, so I decided to not waste time and use a different thing, which is actually also using this font awesome. It's an npm package which is called React Icons, and here it actually inside has a lot of icons, not only font awesome but also material design icons and many others. And you can also see the license here if you want to use this for personal, commercial use, and decide. So we're gonna use font awesome, and here actually we will need just two icons, for example a star and a code branch. So here how we can search the icons, something like this, to show this number of stars of the repo. And it's very easy to use this. I will show you. We need to import here icons, which starts with fa, which is font awesome star, and we also need another one, fa code branch, and we need to import it from React Icons /fa, which is also font awesome. Now here in the counter of forks, just before span, let's use for star, and here I think, no, in the forks of stargazers, we need to use for stars, sorry, it's actually here. And here in the forks, we will use far code branch icon. So let's start yarn dev to see how it looks like. Okay, it's loaded. Now we can see this awesome icons here, which is actually I very like them. The next thing I want to do, I want to show here for every repo a user avatar. So let's create this component. Let's create a user avatar. So its component will be actually here, user avatar, just in front of the description. So let's create here a component which is user avatar.js. And we also need another file which is user avatar.module.scss. Then use the snippets to create component user avatar, and here first of all we need to have passed the user from props. Yes, so let's go back to the repo list item and also pass here user from repo.owner. And here let's add a figure, and inside this figure let's add an image, and the image source is user.avatar_URL, and the alt is an avatar, for example, and there you go. So we'll need a class name of is rounded. It's actually from Bulma. So we'll have a rounded image here. And let's also import our styles here in advanced styles from user avatar model.css, and we also will need a link from next. So let's also import link from next/link, because user can, for example, click on the name of a user, of actually GitHub account and go to the page of the user. So let's here create another div and use here link component. Inside this link we'll have an anchor tag with here a user login. Let's see how it looks like. The avatar is undefined. I think we need to import it also here. Let's import it. User avatar from user avatar. Counter property index of. I think this is the link problem. We need to provide a ref here. And actually a ref here, it's a profile /id. I will explain this later. We have a profile. This will be our routing. We have a profile and then we will have an ID. So every page will read this ID to load the repo or a profile also of a GitHub user. And we need to provide an S, which is actually just a real link. Let's make it profile, and here we need to provide what we use as ID. And as ID we use a user login. So let's save it and see. Okay, we have the images now. We also can see that it's highlights, and you can click and go to the profile and the login. So just this page doesn't exist, but we will create it a bit later. So okay, now let's add some styles here. Let's create in this SSS, let's create a user class. It's display flex and margin bottom 15 pixels. Then let's create a user link, which is margin top 5 pixels and margin left 10 pixels. And also an avatar should have a width and height. So let's make it width and height of 40 pixels. Now let's use all these classes. Starting from here, class name, styles.user, and here it will be a user link here, styles.user link. And I think that's all. And sorry, and I also need here in the figure, let's add a class name, and it will be a template because we'll combine Bulma styles with our own styles. So let's make it avatar also here, and image. The image comes from Bulma. Let's see the difference now. Okay, that looks very nice in my opinion. And the round avatar, and we can also see the links highlighting. It's very nice. Okay, so this is a nice component. We finished this one pretty fast. Let's continue. So to continue, we will create the actual pages. So this page, it's when you click on the repo name, and when you click from avatar to the user, to the profile, you also need to create these two pages. So before we create these two pages, we also need to create an endpoint that fetch actually this thing. So let's go to the services and create actually two endpoints here. We need the get repo and get profile. So let's create these two functions, get repo, and here we'll take the ID. And we use the same Nextjs get. The URL is repositories/id and our Nextjs config. So let's also copy this and create another function to get the profile. And here we'll need the username, which is actually a login, but doesn't matter. And here replace this to users and username. So we need to export these two functions, get profile, get repo and get profile. Okay, now we can get repo and profile from GitHub using this GitHub service. Okay, then the next step actually is to create two new pages. And we also need to create this routing, which is /repo/id and /profile/username. So to create this, we create a new folder. So every folder is a routing. If you make it repo, it's a routing. And if we make another folder, it's nested routing. But we actually don't need a folder, we need an ID. So Nextjs actually has a thing here. If you make in the square brackets something like this, this page actually is an index page of repo with the ID. So ID is a query param in the URL. So let's also create another folder and call it profile. And let's do exactly the same idea with id.js. So before we actually implement these two pages, let's create a really small and amazing component here. It's actually a button link, because we will use this when we create a repo page and profile page. We'll have a visit on GitHub. So click and go to GitHub website. So we need a link and we need a button from Bulma. So I will show you how to create a really nice button component. We will use these buttons from Bulma. We'll provide a type, and if it's info, it will change the color, if it's success, warning, and danger, so it's pretty reusable. And when it's pretty reusable, it's a good thing to put it here to the shared folder. Let's name it button link.js and also create a styles for this button link model.css. Bootstrap this button link. So this component actually has several props. The first one is href, because this is look like a button, but it's actually a link and can be internal and external. That's I will explain just a bit later. We have a button text and we have a type, which by default is a primary, so the blue button I think, or the green one. Depends on your team. And we have a target and we have a external, I think, yeah, which is by default false. Yeah, only if you apply this works. So yeah, let's here create types. Types, it's all possible types from Bulma. And this types means we have a primary, and the CSS class is primary, and we have a success and is success, and a danger, which is also is danger, and so on, so on, so on. So I actually have also light and dark, I think, is dark, and light is light. Yeah, so this is the classes from Bulma, and this is just the type of our button that we invented. So, let's also create here a constant button class and use here button, a normal class from Bulma, and one of our types. So if you provide type primary, here we will substitute this part with isPrimary. Then create our button. If it's external one, so we don't need to use next link, we'll need to use a normal anchor tag. We will have a div here. Let's also create a div with a class name of styles. Okay, we don't have a styles actually. Let's import it. Styles from button link model CSS, yeah. Styles.button. And in this button we will have a a tag with a class name of button class. In the target, we put target from props, and href we also put from props, and then inside we have a text, so button text. I think now we used everything, so all our props, but if it's not external, then we just make here in a normal return. Let's wrap this to the parentheses. We will create a, we will return a next link, so it's internal routing. We'll use this for the back button actually. And let's add here a link, which href from props. So it's pretty the same idea here. And we also have here, let's copy this anchor tag here, and we can remove the href, I think only. Yes, and this class name we also need to add the button. So they're pretty the same, the only difference is that one anchor tag is wrapped in link because it's internal, and external one is not wrapped. Yeah. So let's go to the CSS file and create just a really small thing here, a margin bottom 20 pixels. Okay. So I'll show you how we use this component when we create actually the page of profile and repo. So let's now close all of this, and let's start with. Okay, let's start with profile. Let's start with profile and also create here profile.module.scss, and let's drop the component here. Call it profile, and here in profile what we actually want to do here, we will have a profile, and this profile comes from props, so we'll need to use this SSR, so we'll need to use server-side call to get the profile and put it here. This component will be server-side rendered, and here we need to use export const, so the same that we did in the main page, get server side props function, and here we will actually need a query, because in the query we have a profile ID, and we make a call here to the get profile from GitHub service, and from query we access the ID. And const. Yeah, I think I just missed an arrow here. Yeah. Return an object that has a props, and here profile as the data. So we need to also import this from GitHub service. Let's import it from GitHub service. We'll import get profile. This also in advance, add here the styles from profile model.css. Yeah, so what we want to display here, first of all, we'll use our button link. And the button link, we will have href, which go to the main page, which is because it will be back button. So we go to the just slash, and the text will be back. Back. Then after this back button, we will have a h3 tag, and class name from Bulma is size 3, and put here a profile name. I think that actually already should work, in my opinion. So let's test this. So we created a profile page. It means when I click on this is a repo name, but this is a profile name. So I need to go click here, and in the backend, I actually will have a button link is not defined. Okay, let's fix this also very fast. Import button link. link is not defined. Where is the link? I think here I forgot to import the link in the button link. From next link, I have a button link. Okay, let's see. Button link has already been declared. Okay, sorry, here need to be a link. Okay, it works. We have the name of a profile, which is Marina.js in this case, and we can back button. This is our button link component, and now it's a back button. What also we can do, and the profile, we can also create a visit to GitHub. So it will be another button link, but external one. And let's, for example, use a href here. profile.html_URL, and here we have a text that says view on GitHub, and type of this button can be dark, and the target is, so we want to open a new tab, so it will be blank, and we also specify that this is an external link. So now we can just try to click it, and you see the new tab is opened, and this is a GitHub website. Okay, let's also add just a bit more information here, I think, about the profile. Profile.bio, if it actually exists, it's very important. We can make a div with a class name from styles text, and inside a div we'll have profile.bio. Let's see if this actually works. I don't think that we have this. Okay, probably just doesn't have a bio. I actually hope I just did it correct. Let's also repeat this for, let's replace bio with mail, and here replace bio with a block, and also the same for location. Yeah. Okay, some info, so we have just a bit more info. So I think this is actually enough for this tutorial, because I will spend more time of the things that I already showed. So here let's first add the text, which has just a bit of padding. Then, okay, 5 pixels, I think that's enough. And also here, let's add counters, padding top, because I also want to show just a bit more data here. Padding bottom, 40 pixels. And let's implement these counters, sorry. After this, let's create a div, the class name styles.counters, and here just create a followers, because I think this is a very important information of a profile. Followers, very important. And also duplicate this for following. How many people a person follows and his own followers. Let's see. Okay, that's actually not much here. The counters, still putting bottom 40 pixels. I think that doesn't work because I just made a small mistake here. Yes, okay, that looks very nice. Let's also pick another one to see how this looks. For example, this guy. Okay, it has a bit more info. It already looks like a normal application, so it means we almost finished this. So let's also do the same for the repo. Let's also create here repo module.sss, and we actually will repeat a lot of this profile page, so I think it makes sense to copy paste just everything and change here. Oh, sorry, I copied in the CSS here and change the name to repo. Here also let's change the profile to the repo. And the bottom link actually is exactly the same, I think. Just the only difference here that it's... No, I think this is exactly the same. But let's remove all this and put just another div here with a span that says just repo name, for example. And here we need to change this function to the get pro repo and use here get repo. And here from the query we also get the ID, because this is the ID, but it's actually a username. And here we also need to return a repo as a prop. So let's fast check if I can click on the repo now, and I should have the page. Okay, the profile model is wrong. Yeah, let's fix also the CSS. From here, I need to access the repo model CSS. So now we can really fast create pages because of this. Okay, it actually works. Let's just add a bit of more information here. Let's add here the class name of styles.header and implement header here. So the header will have a margin bottom 20 pixels. It has a span inside, and this span has a font weight of 700 and a font size 30 pixels, so it'll be a huge name. And in background will be an app light gray. So because we use our color variables, we also need to import these colors. Let's import the colors from colors.css. And background is there, so just a bit of a padding here, 5 pixels. Yes. Sorry. I need to add a semicolon here. Okay, the header is there, so it's actually, we can use this. Let's see. Okay, looks very nice. And what we can also add here the user avatar, which is a ready component because we have the user now from the repo. So let's just add the user repo.owner. It's exactly the same that we did on the main page. And also let's add here some divs with a repo description at least. And let's also add here a class name. Class name of styles.description. Duplicate this and also put here a language of the repo. Styles.language. That here description has a padding bottom 20 pixels and language has a font weight 500 and the color is app dark green. And the font size is 24 pixels, for example, just a bit bigger. And also some padding bottom 50 pixels. User avatar is not defined here. Let's define this. Part user avatar here. Let's see. I think for this moment our application is really ready. Okay. So I know that I didn't finish this completely. Oh, okay, this is a very important bug we need to fix actually. Could not read properly the length of undefined. And this happens in the repo list item. It happens when the description of the repo is undefined. So the length, that length throws an error. Let's just fix this with checking if description is there. So, okay, the application is fully done and now we can deploy. Deploy will be really fast. I really liked what we did here. I think that's a small but fully ready application. We can go here, we can visit the GitHub, we can go back also and press also the repo. We can also press the user from here actually. For example, go here and press the user because it's the same component and go to the profile page, then go back to the repo page. Okay, I think actually this is a pretty enough done application for the Nextjs tutorial. So now let's deploy this. To deploy this app, we need to know what we want to do. We want to deploy this to Vercel, and Vercel is previously was named Zeit, and this is the hosting for Nextjs application from creators of Nextjs. So we will use this. Most important thing that if you want to deploy Nextjs to something else, you still can do this exactly. Just your hosting should support Node.js. Because Nextjs is using a server-side rendering. If you use server-side rendering, you must need servers, or you must need Node.js environment. If you use a static site generator, if you use Nextjs as a static site generator, and you just generate a pre-rendered website, you can use any static hosting like Netlify, for example. But for this case, because we also studied server-side rendering, let's use Vercel as a recommended platform for Nextjs. And you need to visit vercel.com and create an account. I already have an account, so actually log in here from with my GitHub account. Here I have my own dashboard and some application already deployed. We will create a new one, and to deploy we actually will use the Vercel CLI. This is a Vercel CLI. You can also go here from the documentation and then click the CLI. And this is how to use it. I will show how to use this, but the most important thing actually how to start with this Vercel CLI. Let's click here. You just need to install this globally. So copy this command, stop our application. Let's make the terminal a bit bigger now. And run this command npm install global Vercel. I already have this. To check if you already have it, you can make something like vercel/v to see the version. This is my version. And what is very important, you also need to Vercel login. So I actually already logged in, and you must probably log in because if you never installed and used Vercel CLI, you need to log in. And right after you log in, you can just type Vercel, and that's all. That will create everything for you and start the deployment. So let's run Vercel. So it actually asks me here if I want to set up and deploy this application, and I say yes. And this is the only one team I have, it's my own team. And if we have a project, we can link here it, but I don't have a project, so I want to create a new one. And the project name, let's make it GitHub repos Nextjs YouTube, for example. It's my project name. So the directory is actually default one. And after this, we can notice, let's close, that here we'll have a new folder. Okay. Don't override any settings because they are all default, they work. Okay, now the deployment is starting. And you notice that we have a Vercel folder, which is by default in gitignore. And this is just the linking to your account, to your Vercel account, linking this local folder to your Vercel account. So we can deploy from this. You can also deploy by using continuous integration, continuous delivery actually. You can just go to the Vercel dashboard and link your Git hub repo. So every Git commit will trigger the deployment, which is actually the correct way. But here I just show how to make it from the CLI, how to use Vercel CLI, because it's actually can be a bit faster for the first time. Then it's a bit problematic to run every time the Vercel command, which is very important. If you want to redeploy a new version of a website, you need to run /prod, otherwise it will just create a preview and your website will not be updated. So here we can see that it's linked actually, and this is our production link. So we can open our production link and see if this is finally works, and that works. So also refresh, see if it is working. So if we go to our dashboard now, here we see that we have a new project, and here we have that Git is not connected. You can also connect Git, and then every commit will trigger the rebuild and deployment also. You can also see here the build logs of every deployment. This is my last deployment that I did locally. It also shows the logs here. You can also see the functions, which is our function, the only one we created, but actually every server-side rendering part, so every get server-side props is also shown there. So it's not only this API function. You can see, for example, the errors that happened here. You want to see the logs, so you will visit this section to see the logs. And also there are a lot of nice settings here. You can set up the custom domain, so you can change the build directory, you can change the build command. What is very important here in the settings, just one thing you need to do, here that we can find the variables names. And you need to actually set up the same variable names that you have in your environment.local. You need to put them there, because otherwise it should not work, I think. Let's see if we pass the variables here. I think because we can't see them because the request is going through the API, so we don't see it. I think for me it works just because I already did this before in the Vercel. But what you need to do, you probably must do this. So you go to the settings of your project, and here you add these two variables. You add these two variables. Go to the environment.local and copy the client ID name and the secret. Also copy it here and add, and GitHub client secret, and this one also, and add. 100% I'm sure that if you don't do this, your application probably will crash at some point or from very beginning. So you must provide these environment variables the same that you have in nv.local. This is done. I think the tutorial is done. I'm very thank you if you watched all the series and code along together with me. I'm really waiting for your feedback. If you have anything, how I can improve my tutorials, please leave in a comment, and say you very much thank you to watching this series. I will have more tutorials on this channel, so please like and subscribe, and see you soon.